everybody, and happy Trainer Talk Tuesday. We are so glad to have you guys here with us live for our weekly dose of Trainer Talk Tuesday, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So guys, today we want to get in and start discussing the best thing that you can eat when you're sick. And there's a lot of misconceptions that go along with this topic, guys, because it's very, very common, and it's very, that this advice is given often, I guess I should say, when you're sick, that you should do things like eat chicken noodle soup, or you should partake in the brat diet, or drink 7-Up. I mean, how many of you guys were raised on these concepts that this is just what you do when you're not feeling well? But I'm here to tell you guys that all that advice that you received growing up, all the things that you did when you were younger that your parents taught you, it's wrong. You should not do those things when you're sick. In fact, those are the things that you want to avoid when you're sick, and we'll get into that later. But the best thing to eat when you are not feeling well, whether it's the common cold or a chronic illness, you should eat nothing, or you should practice, if it's chronic, you should practice long-term fasting, which means you do it on a regular basis in addition to adding in food. But if you are just sick short-term, if you are not feeling well with the cold or the flu, you shouldn't eat anything at all. And honestly, guys, this isn't really like, it shouldn't be like this crazy notion to think of, because when you're sick, what does your body naturally do anyway? You lose your appetite, right?
Yep.
You're throwing up, you might have digestion issues, or you just like don't feel like eating in general. And we've been told like, no, you gotta eat this to feel better. No, that's your body's natural response, guys. When you're not feeling well, typically you don't wanna eat at all. So that's it, guys. You shouldn't eat anything. And fasting is really the body's natural response to promote healing in the body anyway. This forces your body to rely on its own energy to function.
Right. So, guys, you just heard that there's like, obviously, though, one of the main things I remember as a kid is being sick and not wanting to eat anything, and my parents would make me, my mom in particular, would make me some kind of soup, something that was pretty much broth-based. So it wasn't a lot of solid foods or anything to be consumed in them. But I still find it hard to even stomach the idea of trying to insert something into my mouth and then put it into my body. And then for the most part, now when I think about it now as a fitness professional, and now coming into a lot of the knowledge that I have gained today in my current field, I come to find out that a lot of those foods aren't even healthy for me in the most part in particular. Anyway, a lot of those foods continue to suppress the immune system, and they don't help build it up to allow your body to actually start that regeneration process, where your body is pretty much taking all of those negative toxins, those things that's in the body causing you that feeling of sickness, and is trying to push it out through the surface like your body does with everything. It's naturally trying to reject that illness and sickness, but you can't when you're constantly still putting in a lot of those elements that probably made you sick or susceptible to being sick there in the first place.
Now, guys, so research actually shows that 48 to 72 hours of fasting may promote the body to recycle damaged immune cells, which allows for the regeneration of new immune cells. Come here, Roxy. Sit down. So, guys, yeah, just 48 to 72 hours of fasting can help promote new immune cells, guys. And this is great news, because it means that you can start feeling better faster. There are different types of fasting, guys. So one is a water fast, and that means that you eat nothing, but you only drink water. This is a preferred method if you are feeling sick where you are losing fluids, such as through nausea, throwing up, or if you are having diarrhea, then you want to do a water fast. If you're not having symptoms like that, then another form of fasting is a dry fast. there are two different types of dry fast. So we have a soft dry fast, which is no food and no water, and then a hard dry fast, which is no food, no water, and no contact with water, which means no brushing of the teeth and no taking a shower, nothing like that. So that is actually the preferred method, a hard dry fast. It is the most effective method because you can do it for shorter periods of time, right guys? We're not advocating that you don't drink any water or eat any food for long periods of time, but for 24 hours you can do a hard dry fast and you can get the same effect that a 72-hour water fast would provide. So if you are not dehydrated, or if you're not sick to the point where your body is becoming dehydrated because of throwing up or diarrhea, then guys, you can do a hard dry fast, and it is the most effective way to promote healing in the body the fastest. So keep that in mind. A water fast is always there if needed. Other fasts that may be introduced if you are not ready mentally for those things would be a fruit fast or like a juice fast. So this is going to be all fruit or all juices, which is fruit and vegetables in a juice. This allows your body to heal because it's easily digested into the body. When it's juiced, it takes away a lot of those parts of the fruit or the vegetable that are harder to digest. And then the last one is intermittent fasting. This is also a great way to promote healing in the body. It's not going to do it as fast as these other methods, but it is something that you can introduce. Intermittent fasting are just periods of fasting and eating. Typically when you do intermittent fasting, you do most of the fasting part while you're sleeping, so like 16 to 18 hours, and then you eat in a smaller window. Now, regardless, whatever fasting method works best for you right now, or mentally sounds the best when you aren't feeling well, make sure that if you're doing intermittent fasting and you have an eating window, or you start eating again after your fasting period when you start to feel better, that you eat certain foods here. So we're gonna get into that. When you are ready to eat, guys, you need to, one, add water in first, and water only. So you wanna make sure that you're hydrated regardless, especially if you're just coming off of a hard dry fast. And then when you incorporate foods, we don't just want to add whatever foods we were eating prior to getting sick. You want to make sure that you're adding fruit only. And then after you add in fruit, then you add in raw vegetables only. And then you slowly start to introduce these other foods. Let your body kind of get used to eating again. It's the same concept, guys, when you've been sick and you just can't eat as much, or certain foods don't sound as good even when you start to feel better. We want to slowly start introducing these foods. Allow your body to catch up to what's going on. These foods are easily digested into the body. We don't want to put a strain on the body after it's been trying to heal. So you really want to avoid processed foods and definitely refined sugar. As Nate mentioned, these types of foods are going to suppress your immune system. Refined sugar in particular, guys, will suppress your immune system for up to 5 hours after you consume it. So you absolutely do not want to consume any refined sugar when you are sick. So that kind of takes out like that 7-Up, the chicken noodle soup, a lot of the brat diet, because these are full of processed foods, full of refined sugar, and they're keeping you sick longer, and they're preventing you from healing and from getting better in the first place.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the main things too, because I didn't necessarily always do a lot of 7-Up, but one thing that I know a lot of you guys have is orange juice. That is a really, really big one. And not to say orange juice doesn't help, but the processed orange juice that's full of the refined sugars, that is the one you want to avoid. So all that Minute Maid orange juice, there's so many different kinds out there. We don't really use it anymore, so I can't think of all the different brands off topic. We don't even pay much attention to those things in the store. But pretty much what you're hearing here in this on this topic today is pretty much just allowing your body to do what it is naturally made to do when your body is under this type of illness, where you're dealing with some common cold or something of that sort, when your body isn't having any urge or any feelings to eat. there's no need to eat. Your body is giving you that feeling for a reason. It's because it is trying to push out whatever it is that's affecting you, and not putting anything else in. Putting something else in is only going to lengthen out that process and make you have to wait a bit longer. I see it all the time here with clients that I'm dealing with at a gym. They tell me all the things that they're taking and ways that they're trying to overcome the sickness, and they're just being, it's another week that they're out. It's another session that we have to push back, so on and so on. And all the while, I'm telling them, hey, just get some rest. Just allow your body to do what it naturally wants to do. Just try to focus on having some fluids, water in particular, if your body is feeling the need to want to quench its thirst because now you are dehydrated. But if you're not feeling like you are ready to eat anything, guys, don't eat anything. Let your body do what it's naturally doing. Our body has a lot of different processes that it puts itself through when you are faced with different circumstances. And being sick, this one here, when your body is trying to naturally heal itself, is trying to push out and use a lot of its natural resources to heal itself, you guys are kind of hindering that process when you put a lot of these unnatural elements into it, thinking that you are trying to speed up that process, when really in turn you're just slowing it down.
Yep, guys, and Nate made an excellent point when I referred to the different types of fast, and I talked about a juice fast. That's not your Minute Maid juices, as Nate described. I think that's very important to clarify. When we talk about juices, we're talking about fruits and vegetables that you either juice at home, that you get from a local juicery, or that you have cold pressed juices.
And yes, guys,
cold pressed juices.
That includes V8. All right, I know
V8.
A lot of you are huge
V8.
on V8. That includes that too, no matter what that label says. When it says 100% fresh, natural made, all of that, if it comes pre-packaged for you in a bottle, then that is not natural. The natural that we're talking about is you buying those fresh fruits and vegetables in store, or even locally, or if you're good or lucky enough to grow it yourself and you make it right there in your own blender, in your own kitchen. That's the natural process that we're speaking of, not having things that you aren't quite sure of how it was made to be.
Yep, guys.
Even though it says one thing on the bottle.
And you got to be really careful with labels. It's always best, like Nate said, to do it on your own. But there are some places that you can go that aren't like a local juicery, where you can get high quality juices, but they are hard to find. So please look at the ingredients, guys. Like his V8 that he mentioned. If you look at the ingredients, there's just so much stuff in there that is really unnecessary. I believe Evolution is the brand. They are a brand, or Simplify or so. You'll have to correct me on this, but there's a couple of brands out there that you can get from like Costco, usually like a Fresh Time, places like that, Whole Foods. And these are cold pressed juices. And if you look at the labels and the ingredients on these juices, it will literally just say cucumber, apple, ginger. There's no other ingredients besides like whole foods, fruits and vegetables, and that's really what you're looking for if you're not going to make it on your own. And like I said, they are harder to find. They're going to be way more expensive if you do it that way, but it is possible. If you want to do that, you just have to be careful with the labeling and the ingredients.
Right, and we did a video a while ago. We had to touch on that, the importance of label reading. Like, that is a very, very important thing. But guys, again, if you turn it over and you are looking at these labels, since we are on it here, if it's something that you pretty much can't pronounce, you can't even begin to know where to start or how to pronounce it, then you probably don't want to be putting that in your body, because quite frankly, you don't even know what that is.
Typically,
right?
they're preservatives,
so, yeah.
guys.
And that's what it is, and that's just to give those items pretty much a longer shelf life, so they have a longer time to be able to sell it and profit and make money from it for the most part. So that is what a lot of those preservatives are, and they save us on having to use a lot of the natural elements that those things are supposed to consist of, so that way we are able to feed the large population of people that we have here on Earth. So a lot of these things are just to be able to help mass produce these things, give it longer shelf life, etc. So these are things that they say won't hurt you in the short term, but in the long term, we all know that if you have a lot of these things, then it causes a lot of severe issues down the road, and we all know that starts with like heart disease and so on and so on.
Guys,
so
and
just
there can be a buildup in the body if you are consuming certain types of foods. with regularity over long periods of time. It does damage your health. It will keep you sick. It will aid in the formation of chronic disease and illness. So these aren't only going to help you when you're already feeling sick, it's going to be preventative measures. So even practicing fasting when you're not sick, guys, is going to be a great way to help you not get sick in the future. So intermittent fasting you can do every day. If we're talking about the other types of fast, you can do those once a month or every 6 weeks, or even like once a week if you're advanced doing some type of fasting for like 24 hours or 48 hours. So it just kind of depends on where you are in your journey. Listen to your body, start off slow, but definitely if and when you start adding food back into your diet, no processed foods, absolutely no refined sugar. That's the big one. But then you also want to avoid acidic mucus forming foods. So these are things like animal protein. You don't want to be eating that while you're sick, guys. That's something that you can add into your diet when you are feeling better. And we, refer back to our video that said, meat, is it okay to eat? If you want to learn about different animal protein that you can eat, and that is clean meat, that's healthier for you. But yeah, you want to avoid those while you're sick. You also want to avoid things like dairy. I'm an advocate of avoiding dairy altogether anyway, but if you're sick, you definitely don't want to have dairy because it's acidic. It causes mucus in the body, and ultimately that's what sickness is, guys. It's just the overproduction of mucus in the body, and depending on what you're going through, that mucus will just develop in different places. So for instance, if you have a cold, you'll have the overproduction of mucus in your sinus cavity. If you have like pneumonia or something, even like COVID recently, right? That's overproduction of mucus like in your lungs, in your chest. So depending on what the illness is, it's just overproduction of mucus in that particular area. So you don't want to have foods, again, the processed foods, the dairy, gluten, refined sugars, alcohol, caffeine. Things like this are going to slow the healing process because they produce mucus, they produce inflammation, and that's going to slow things down, or it's going to make you sicker.
Right. And guys, let me tell you, because we say dairy, and I don't know, a lot of people don't have a great idea what dairy is, but let me give you 3 good ideas of what we mean. We don't say dairy. These are 3 common things that people like to have. Milk, that's dairy. Cheese is dairy. And yogurt, that is dairy, guys, all right? So I'm just wanting to name those 3 because as much as we talk about this here in the gym, a lot of our clients still come when we talk about no dairy, let's limit this. They still say, well, can I have yogurt? Well, what about this? This is still like cheese. These are all dairy. These are all foods that are processed and comes from a animal. So no, that is not what we're asking you to do. That is still considered a dairy product. Now I know that may sound very crazy to a lot of you, but trust me, there are a lot of people who just have no understanding of what dairy food is. They hear people say it, but they don't know that dairy is in cheese, that dairy is in milk, and like obviously those are obvious.
A lot of things. Guys.
Yogurt, sour cream, a lot of these things have dairy in them, right? Pretty much all dairy. So in a lot of your condiments, for the most part, when you're getting into the ranches, the tartar sauce and all of that stuff, dairy, guys. So really watch yourselves with those. Just wanted to mention that because a lot of people don't have a great understanding of what that necessarily means when we say dairy. So I want to give you a couple ideas of some that you may come across that just seem like a regular food to you, but I know yogurt is a big thing that a lot of people like to do when they get on a diet in particular, and that's just not a great option for you.
Yep, guys, absolutely. And separate apart from your nutrition, unless it is absolutely needed, I would stray away from pharmaceuticals. Things like herbal teas, herbs in general, in their whole form, or essential oils can help speed up the process of healing. Those would obviously be specific to whatever you're experiencing. You would use different oils or herbs for those. But they're effective, guys. Years and years ago, and there's some people that still do this today, they would get the whole herbs that they grew in their garden, and they would boil water and then put it into the boiling water, and then you would just inhale aromatherapy, guys. You would just take in all those scents, and that can help speed up the healing process. So there are other things that you can do as well, but it's always really going to go back to your diet. It's going to go back to your nutrition. What are you putting into your body on a regular basis? And that's going to determine, one, are you going to get sick in the first place? And two, how quickly are you going to recover? So that's kind of all I have for you guys. Do you have anything else to add, Nate?
I was just gonna sum it up, that what you just said, those last two things, that brings me to one of my favorite quotes is, what you guys put in determines what you get out. All right, so whatever you're eating, whatever you're putting in the body, that's gonna determine what you're going to get out of it. So if you're eating like shit, you're gonna feel like shit. All right, if you're eating a lot of foods that are consistent of a lot of things that's going to suppress the immune system and make you likely to, you know, contract some type of cold or some sickness, illness, that's what you are going to get. So keep in mind that don't just live to eat, but eat to live, guys. All right, eat to live. So that is a wrap on today's Trainer Talk Tuesday. I think that was a lot of good information. Obviously, as you heard, this is something that Larissa is uberly passionate about, something that she researches, one of her specialties here at the gym. So she knows a lot about this stuff. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, reach out to us. I know she would love to follow up with you and give you more insight on what it is, especially catered particular to whatever it is that you're dealing with individually. So yeah, guys, like, I know it sounds like a lot sometimes, but it's actually easier than what you think it is once you just get a little bit more familiar with it, just like everything else. It always seems like a lot early on, but once you become a little bit more familiar with the process, you start to see how easy it is and how a lot of these things correlate with each other, and then you will start to see, man, this all makes a ton of sense. All right?
Absolutely, guys. So thanks for joining in. If you are watching this on replay, go ahead and hashtag replay. Let us know that you did tune in at some point, and let us know what you guys think. Does this make sense to you? Would you ever try fasting when you're not feeling well, or as a preventative measure? Let us know in the comments. Talk to us so we can talk to you and kind of see where your mind is, so we can help you. You can help us. But yeah, guys, that's all we have for you. The best thing to eat when you're sick is absolutely nothing. So listen to your body, do what it naturally wants to do, and we love you guys. As always, never give up,
never lose hope, and
never settle.
All right, see you guys back here next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week, and looking forward to talking to you then.
Yep, see you guys.